I'm Deborah James with bellavitaevents, and I am the CEO and the event visionary, the primary event visionary of the company, staffed and armed with great girls by my side, may I say. We are a boutique planning firm. We do everything from small soirees to large lavish events and everything in between. And we really believe in quality over quantity. And our motto is to really truly be a guest at your own event. So the question is what we do on the wedding day, what don't we do on the wedding day is probably a better way to look at it. So it starts with the plan, and I come from entertainment, so it all is about pre-production first. We believe in telling the story in a 3-act play. So everything in pre-production, and then the ceremony, pre-ceremony, ceremony, and then reception, the party. We receive all of the vendors, so we arrive on site, we check in with them, we receive the bride, the groom, if they're not seeing each other, keeping them apart, everything from putting on a boutonniere to making sure that the girls are receiving their lunch at the right time, and then coordinating all the vendors and loading in the logistics and the cabling and the pin spots and the lights and the florals and the linens, and then coordinating with the kitchen and making sure the timing and the meal and all of that. So we are literally usually the first ones in besides makeup and hair, and we're usually the last to leave because I really believe in walking through, returning a space in exactly the way we found it, making sure there hasn't anything been left, and also making sure that just everything has been put away, collected, and cleaned up. I think is really important. So as much as the emotional, logistical, and then we're really there to ensure that timeline and scheduling and everything goes very succinctly that day so that we protect the event and we protect the vendors delivering their services. All right, how did I hear about this lovely place? Well, I was actually hired by a client a few years ago before the gardens were even here, and they had a mitzvah, and it was during that horrible year that we had the flu, and we had several kids that were not available. But I remember them saying they were building this beautiful outdoor space. So next spring, I went to a networking event, got introduced to this beautiful space, and I knew from the moment I walked in, first of all, the cypress trees winked at me from the Italian in me. And I walked into this very self-contained, private, beautiful space and thought, wow, it is like just literally an open canvas. And I think that's what's beautiful about this because I love juxtaposition. And I knew from that moment I wanted to do something different in this space, and we actually had planned kind of a Moroccan-inspired Indian styled shoot that we did, which sprung opportunity for us to work and do other weddings and graduation parties from there. But what I love about this space is it is a clean palette. And I think people have been going towards a vintage route, but I think it is an open space to do so many other things. Not only that, I love the way it brings the guests in, keeps them safe. You can transition from one space to the other, but there's no golf members around. There's nobody else to interfere with your event. The bridal suite is amazing, right there next to the ceremony area, so you can keep your bride tucked away if she doesn't want to be seen. And then I think just internally, the services, the way things run efficiently, the food, the setup. They've offered a lot of new rentals this last season that they can actually throw into the event. So I think just it's becoming a very, not one-stop, but very self-contained and very self-efficient facility to work with. Let's talk wedding trends. Believe it or not, sustainable weddings is huge. We're talking about progression. We're talking about people wanting to use events and have events that are what I would call environmental friendly, green, allergy issues, things that are biodegradable. We're using bamboo plates. We're having people use a lot of herbs and greens and boho and pampas grass and all that. So I'm not saying we're all going boho, but what I am saying is people are looking for sustainable events and resources and food and vendors that can enhance that. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story that was interesting. Last year when we were amidst the crazy fires, the Woolsey fire, we had a client who was getting married, and we had to literally move her wedding in 3 days, 125 people from one location to Las Vegas because nothing else was available. Literally, I got on a plane that morning to Vegas, and by 10 o'clock that night, I was moving troops, and 3 days later, we had 8 semi-trucks coming in and 2 private jets bringing guests in. And the experience was so humbling, but so gratifying from a team perspective to just watch my vendors and my family just be enveloped in love and support. And I wouldn't bring this up now, but it's a very real part of what we do. And I think every couple that's planning a wedding in Southern California now thinks about the rain and the Santa Anas and the fire and the floods and how does that affect me and what if? And I think we all have to be armed with the reality now that something can happen. And we as planners, it's changed the scope and the scape of our experience with our clients. So it's very real, but fun-wise, they're all fun. I love being like what I call an honorary family member when I get hired to be with a couple, so yeah. So we had the opportunity after I found out about this little nugget here to do a styled shoot. And I always feel like there are things that are ruminating me, and the design part of me is like the visionary. And I was working with a client who was from Morocco, and I loved the lanterns and all that. And then I had also had simultaneously an Indian client, and I love color, as you like. No, I like color, I like fuchsia. So when we had an opportunity to do some draping and do a styled shoot, we partnered up with Exo Bloom, and we were able to come up with this beautiful design with a lot of her tchotchkes and yummies and what I call her pretties, and came up with this design of beautiful pink and an aqua color and an orange, and fuse that all together. We were very mindful of like putting a couple together to be in our shoot that was multicultural, multi-ethnic. I love now that probably 90% of what I do is multicultural, multi-ethnic, and I think we wanted to speak to that audience because that's a big part of Southern California. And so we were able to fortunately place that magazine after coming up with that into Ceremony Magazine, and I think it received like 4 pages and 20-some photos. It was beautiful. It's still alive on Instagram, and it keeps coming up in our social feed and our pins and all of that. So I love when you just breathe life into something and something stirs, and you partner that with a florist and a designer and a rental company, and it just all comes together. And I think it jumps off the pages when it's truth, you know? I think the first element I would say is trust is key. I think you have to be able to talk to somebody. A lot of our clients are destination, Skype somebody, FaceTime somebody, or sit in front of somebody and look into their eyes and know that they're going to be your advocate. An advocate is somebody who's going to come alongside of you. They're going to counsel you. They're going to guide you. But I think more importantly than just price point shopping, I think you have to find somebody who's going to connect with you, your family, the dynamics, and also make the most of your resources. Budget is foundational for what we do. We literally will not issue a contract until we put a projected budget together, and we do that as a courtesy with every one of our consideration clients. We literally do a line item, and we understand what the tolerance, the expectation is of each line item before we even put that into an actual formal proposal and issue it to them. So I think trust is key, and I also recognize that trust is earned, and I think I would rather spend a little bit more time courting somebody and understanding and them really valuing their needs and them valuing what we can provide for them than just signing them and feeling like, I hope we can figure this out together. I think it has to be figured out foundationally beginning. So I think trust is the #1 thing. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me today. It was an honor to be here and be a part of the preferred vendor team. If you do want to try to locate us, we're at bellavitaevents.com. You can also find us on social media at bellavitaevents or Facebook at bellavitaevents. So thank you.